أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 212, Surah Luqman. We'll begin from ayah number 10. خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ تَرَوْنَهَا. He has created the heavens without pillars that you see. In the previous ayah, what is mentioned? That the promise of Allah is true. Which promise? Which promise? وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقًّا, of entry into Jannah and eternity in Jannah. وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقًّا وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ, and Allah is mighty and He's wise. And where can you see the might of Allah? Where? How? In the creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. That if you look around yourself, that will show you how mighty Allah is by His creation, by what He has created, in the way that He has created. And that itself should tell you that if Allah has made a promise with you, He will definitely fulfill it. So why fear? Why have any doubt? خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ تَرَوْنَهَا. Look at the heavens, look at the skies, the sky above you. Are there any pillars that are supporting it? You don't see any pillars. So if He can support the sky without pillars, you think it's difficult for Him to keep you for eternity in Jannah? خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ. Amad is used for props, for posts, supports. Anything that is used as a prop, anything that is used as a support to keep something in its place. And usually, for a ceiling, for a roof, what do you need? You need some kind of support beneath it, in the form of walls or in the form of pillars. So these skies that you see, they are بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ, without any pillars, تَرَوْنَهَا, that you all see it. Now this has been understood in two ways. That first of all, these skies, these samawat, they have amad, but they are such amad that بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ تَرَوْنَهَا. They're not such amad that you could see them. You understand? They're not such amad, such pillars that you could see. They're not visible. They are there. There is something that is supporting the samawat, but you don't see it. Because if you would be able to see it, then it would create a great difficulty for you. Isn't it so? Think about it. If you see pillars all around you, doesn't it obstruct the view? It does. Like for example, in a huge hall, sometimes you have pillars. Doesn't it bother you? Typically in people's basements, that's what they have. And they want to get rid of the pillars, but they cannot. Why? Because they're supporting the entire house. And they're such a nuisance sometimes because they obstruct the view, they limit the space, they make it difficult. But look at the samawat, there are no pillars that you can see. And secondly, بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ تَرَوْنَهَا. The samawat, they have no amad, and you see the samawat without any pillars. وَأَلْقَى فِي الْأَرْضِ رَوَاسِيَ. And He has cast in the earth rawasiya, firmly set mountains. Rawasi is the plural of rasiya. And rasiya is used for literally something that is deeply grounded, it's firmly rooted, it's firmly anchored. And rawasi is used for mountains. Why? Because mountains are deeply rooted in the earth. And they're also tall, huge, towering mountains. So in the earth, He has cast rawasiya. Why? أَن تَمِيدَ بِكُمْ, lest it should sway with you. What? The earth. Meaning the mountains, what's their purpose? To stabilize the earth. And if it wasn't for these mountains, then the surface of the earth would constantly be moving, making it very difficult for you to live upon the earth. Tamida from the root letters, Mim, Ya, Dal. And made is when something huge sways, when it moves back and forth. وَبَثَّ فِيهَا. And He has spread in it, meaning throughout the earth He has scattered مِن كُلِّ دَابَّةٍ, every type of creature. Every type of moving creature. Remember, dabba is used for any creature that can move by its own will. Any place that you go on the surface of the earth, what will you find? What will you find? Moving creatures. Some are moving at a very slow speed. Some are moving at a very, very fast speed. And some move at a very moderate speed. Dabba. Different types, different sizes, different colors, different abilities, different species. وَبَثَّ فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ دَابَّةٍ وَأَنزَلْنَا. And these dabba, they actually add to the beauty of the earth. Isn't it so? Isn't it so? They make the earth more beautiful because they add more color. They create more sound. And because of them, there is constant movement. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً. And we have sent down from the sky water. فَأَنبَتْنَا. Then we have caused to grow. فِيهَا, in it, meaning in the earth. مِن كُلِّ زَوْجٍ كَرِيمٍ. Every noble kind. Meaning every noble kind of trees, plants, vegetation, fruits, so on and so forth. If you look in this ayah, at the beginning, it's been said in the third person. خَلَقَ أَلْقَى بَثَّ. Isn't it so? All of these three verbs, what are they? They're in third person. He created. He cast. He has spread. And then when the rain is mentioned, then how has it been said? أَنزَلْنَا. We have sent down. You see? There's a shift from third person to first person. Why is it so? Typically when we see this in a sentence, we say, this is a grammatical error. Isn't it? We say that this is not appropriate, fix it. But in Arabic, especially in the Quran, this is something that is extremely common. And there is a reason behind that. How? What's the reason? That when there is a shift from third person to first person, it shows more love. It shows that this particular blessing which has been mentioned in first person, that is more relevant to you. That is a special mercy that has been sent down. So, أَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَأَنبَتْنَا فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ زَوْجٍ كَرِيمٍ. What does it show? The great mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And zawjin kareem, zawj as you know is used for type, kind, sort. And kareem, that which is noble, of a very good quality. And also generous. Over here it means of a very noble, of a very good quality. So throughout the earth, He has caused to grow different types of plants. And these different types of plants, they are a source of your nourishment, your food, and also nourishment for who? For the rest of the creatures. هَذَا خَلْقُ اللَّهِ. This is the creation of Allah. What is? What has been mentioned in the previous ayah. The samawat, the rawasiya, the rain that comes down, so on and so forth. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. فَأَرُونِي. Then show me. مَاذَا خَلَقَ الَّذِينَ مِن دُونِهِ. What is it that those beings other than Him have created? Meaning, those beings who are worshipped other than Allah, what have they created? If you look around yourself, from the sky, to the mountains, to the earth, to the creatures, to the food that they eat, who has created all of that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, is there anything at all, even one thing, that has been created by other than Allah? Not at all. So if Allah is the only creator, then does He not deserve to be worshipped alone? فَأَرُونِي مَاذَا خَلَقَ الَّذِينَ مِن دُونِهِ. What is it that those beings other than Him have created? They have created nothing. بَلِ الظَّالِمُونَ. Rather the wrongdoers, they are فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ, in a clear error. How? The ظالمون over here refers to mushrikeen, because إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. So those people who do shirk, they are in a clear error. Meaning they're clearly making a big mistake. They're clearly doing something very wrong. How? That they are worshipping someone other than Allah, when that being has created nothing, and Allah alone has created everything. In Surah Al-Ra'd, ayah number 16, we learn, أَمْ جَعَلُوا لِلَّهِ شُرَكَاءَ. Or have they set partners for Allah? خَلَقُوا كَخَلْقِهِ. Who have created like His creation. That have they set partners for Allah, who, according to them, have created something like Allah has created? فَتَشَابَهَ الْخَلْقُ عَلَيْهِمْ. So that the creation of each has seemed similar to them, so that they're confused, okay, who created what, and that's why they're worshipping a multiple of gods? قُلِ اللَّهُ خَالِقُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. Say that Allah is the creator of everything. وَهُوَ الْوَاحِدُ الْقَهَّارُ. And He is the one, the prevailing. So what do we see over here? That Allah alone is the creator of everything. And since He is the creator, what does it show? He alone deserves worship. He alone deserves to be obeyed. If you notice, why are these two ayat mentioned after the ayat about lahu al-hadith and leading people astray from the way of Allah? Why do you think? What's the connection between the two? Relate these two themes, these two subjects. What's the connection? The ayat that we finished off yesterday about lahu al-hadith, that وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهُوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. That lahu al-hadith is idle talk, useless talk. Everything that Allah has created has a reason, has a purpose behind it. Our purpose is to worship Him, not to get lost in lahu al-hadith. Okay, shirk is part of lahu al-hadith. Okay, very true. That when a person is so engrossed in lahu al-hadith that he is surrounded by music and singing and watching other people's lives and watching what's going on in their personal lives or their work life, so on and so forth, watching movies, etc., then what does it do to a person? It takes him far from reality. Isn't it so? It does not let him reflect on the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is it that people find it boring to go outside and look at what Allah has created? Why? Why would they rather go to the movies and spend 3 hours over there? Why? It's because they're so consumed in lahu al-hadith, they're so consumed in living a fake life, in living an imaginary life, that because of that reality, it seems so boring to them. It seems so unrealistic to them. They're not interested in reality whatsoever, at all. So, in these ayat, what is mentioned? The creation of Allah. When can you reflect on it? When can you appreciate it? When can you see it? And as a result, when can you draw closer to Allah? When you block off lahu al-hadith. When you stop that, only then can you appreciate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. That whether a person likes to watch the television or a person likes to read, fiction novels, so on and so forth. Why is it so? Because they just want to block themselves off from reality. That's what they want to do. Because they find life so difficult, they don't want to face it, so what do? They indulge in different things to block off reality completely. But that's not the solution. Same thing with video games. Remember that lahu al-hadith is not just music. As I mentioned to you, it's anything that distracts a person from the worship of Allah, no matter what form it takes. Whether it's in the form of stories, or it's in the form of games, or it's in the form of anything. So what a person indulges in so much, it's such a delusion, it's such a distraction, that it takes him far from the Qur'an, it takes him far from reality, it does not let him appreciate what Allah has created, and as a result, he is distanced from Allah. You understand? He is distanced from Allah. We see that when a person is just reading or watching or playing, then he doesn't really have to do much. He just has to sit there and watch other people talk, watch other people live, interact with one another, right? But when a person is reflecting, then what does that require him to do? Use his own mind. Isn't it so? And this is something that people don't like to do. But we have to use our mind. We have to use this intellect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in order to draw closer to Him. Also, if you see that An-Nadr bin Harith, what was his goal? What did he want to achieve? What did he want? That people should not obey Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That people should not accept Islam, and as a result, they don't only worship Allah, they do shirk. This is what he wanted. Because this is why he brought all those slave girls, and this is why he imported all those stories and he started narrating them to the people in competition against the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, what do we see over here? That those people whose focus is lahu al-hadith, what do they want? That people should be driven away from Allah. But over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, okay, when you do shirk, who are you worshipping? Someone who has not created a single thing even? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what has He created? Everything. How can you prefer someone who has not even made a single thing over someone who has made everything? بَلِ الظَّالِمُونَ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. That many people, they just think that life is about entertainment. You live only once, so enjoy it to the maximum. And as a result, they don't face reality. They don't want to face the challenges of life. And whenever they face any difficulty, what do? Switch the television on, block off their mind. That's what they do. But is it really going to bring any benefit to a person? Not at all. And if a person accepts the difficulties of life, accepts the challenges of life, and he deals with them with the help of Allah, then inshallah he will reap many benefits in the hereafter. Many times it happens to people that when they are living a life, being consumed by movies and television and novels and fiction and games, entertainment all the time, then if a major reality of life hits them, they're not able to deal with it. And what happens at that time? They end up committing suicide. They end up running away. They end up harming themselves. They end up harming other people. They only cause loss to themselves. And if a person lives a life facing reality, then it makes him stronger. Exactly. That people, when they turn to drugs, what's the reason behind that? To block off the realities of life that they don't want to face. The difficulties of life that they don't want to deal with. Now similarly, when a person comes back home after a long day at work, he's tired, doesn't want to think, doesn't want to use his mind, what does he do? Television. Computer. Right? You're driving in the car, you don't want to think about all those important things of life, so what do? Turn the radio on. And as a result, you're constantly distracted. Now it's just like any other drug. Because when a person is using drugs, what happens? He is cut off from reality. Isn't it so? He's distracted from it completely. Momentarily, he's finding a lot of pleasure. Right? And the same thing is with any other kind of lahul hadith that a person may indulge in. But it doesn't change reality. Isn't it so? How do you make someone realize this? This is a big challenge. Because if a person does not realize himself, then what can other people do? They can tell him again and again, stop watching, stop wasting your time, do something better. But if he doesn't get it himself, then what can you do? How can you advise them? Ask them, okay, what did you learn out of this? But sometimes they say, I got relaxed. Mentally I got relaxed. So how do you make yourself or even somebody else realize? If you think of it, I look at it this way. That if a person doesn't have anything important to do, something that really, burdens them, something that is very heavy on them, something that's on their mind constantly, then what will happen? What will happen? They will spend their time watching the television. They will spend their time talking. But if they really have something important to do in life, then what will happen? Every moment of theirs, they will be spending thinking about it, preparing for it, doing something about it. So usually people who have nothing to do, or who don't have important things to do rather, then those people, they end up spending a lot of their time in such things. Many times this is the case. So give them an alternate. Give them something better to do. And it's not like, since you've come home, please do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. No, tell them, can you please help me in this? Can you please read this for me and tell me if you can help me out with this? You understand? Engage them in something that is more productive. And when they are engaged in that, then what will happen? They will begin to enjoy that more and will feel themselves that, for example, watching the television is a waste of time. Yes.
I think that whatever you're surrounded by is what you eventually be engrossed in. So when I saw that pattern, like at home, when I have my brothers and they're engrossed in something else, instead I will bring up a new activity and I'll make like the little kids maybe do that, and then the older ones just join in because that's what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
And so that's like a way to like help people change or realize this.
Give a better alternate. Okay? Yes.
In this surah it talks about lahul hadith, but then you can't be a muhsin if you have lahul hadith in your life. Because for me, I was like obsessed with novels, and I would read a lot of novels. So one of the point of a muhsin is hukukul ibad, right? So my mom sometimes she would come and she would like, okay, do this with me, and I'll be so engrossed in my novel, I wouldn't want to go and do that thing with her.
So it happens with a person that when they are busy with lahul hadith, and what happens? They cannot be a productive person. They cannot become a muhsin. You understand? They cannot become a muhsin. So if you give them a better alternate to do, something to occupy them from before, then they will not have time to waste on other things.
I'm working on my cousins from both sides of the family, especially since Ramadan is coming up. So we went to some places over the weekend, and I asked some of these youths, I said, what are you guys doing during Ramadan? They're like, it's 2 weeks away. I was like, 2 weeks is a very short time. Really? No, I can decide later. I was like, no, why don't you make a goal right now? What is your goal for Ramadan? And one of them, he said, I've read the Quran in Arabic already. I'm thinking about reading the translation. I was like, okay. All right, that's good. If you want to read the translation, that's great. So I didn't push him to say, okay, yeah, you should finish in Arabic as well. Because this is a type of kid who, he's into music, he's into basketball. So I said, okay, you know what? Give me your email address. I took his email address. I said, I'm going to send you a link of someone who's doing tafseer in English. It's a brother, and you're going to listen to it. And it's somebody who you can relate to. He said, okay, great. I'm going to listen. That's fine. I was like, on your way to work, just put it on your iPad, listen to it. But you should make a goal for yourself this Ramadan, because you have to increase in your spirituality as well, not just in your secular life. So you go, okay. Because in Ramadan, this is the time when you can actually push someone. So inshallah, they will benefit. This is just something small. Because if you tell them all these things like, stop listening to music, stop doing this, all of a sudden they won't understand.
Yes.
They won't understand.
Especially if you keep telling them, stop, don't watch, don't listen, then what's going to happen? They're going to get so irritated that they're not going to listen to you anymore. Every time you say something to them, they're going to block you off. That's what they're going to do.
Just to add on to the point of giving people an alternate, as human beings, I think that we do need some relaxation from our daily lives and our routines, but to a limit. And to give someone an alternate, I was thinking that maybe you can bring them to their spiritual side as well by giving them the alternative of getting outside. I think that because of all the facilities we have now, like the computer, the television, we're constantly staying at home. We need to get out and ponder on the reflection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes. This is one of the beautiful alternates that's mentioned over here, that go and look around and see. And believe me, if you go for a walk in the evening for 45 minutes, that'll relax you much more than watching television for even 2 hours. Honestly, it will make you fresh. You may think that you're very, very tired and exhausted, but it will really have a good impact on you.
Assalamu alaikum. As a wife or as a mother, we have to be careful. If we watching TV and the husband come and needs something, we don't serve him, that's like we get in sin. But we learn in the Quran the right of the husband, the right of the kids. But if we watching TV, what we doing? We following shaitan and we listening to the shaitan. So if we read the Quran, we listening to Allah.
Yes, because sometimes women are watching, and because of that their children are getting neglected, right? Husbands are getting neglected. Why? Because they're watching their favorite TV show.
It comes with the certainty of the hereafter. From a personal experience, when my father, he passed away, that's when, you realize that death is true. That's when I realized. Because everyone's going to die. It's the reality. But it hits you that I can die tomorrow and I can die any day. So that time, you realize, you reflect over your life, what did I do in my life?
Yes. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. That it's this yaqeen in the hereafter that makes a person purposeful. That makes him value every moment of his life. But sometimes we just generalize and we get so frustrated when we see somebody watching television or reading something or watching something that all of a sudden we start getting angry at them. Turn this off and see there's music and see there's haram scenes and you're wasting your time. But if you approach someone like this, they're never going to listen to you. Never. What do you need to do? Speak to them calmly. Make them understand. Make them realize. And when they will realize, then they will change themselves. Because otherwise what's going to happen? They will not watch in front of you, but they will watch behind you. Very true. That you don't know in which state your death might come. Sometimes if you're watching the television, think about it, what if the angel of death comes right now? And many times people like to watch television alone, right? Watching something on their computer. Imagine, what if the angel of death comes right now? In what state will I die? Watching what? Neglecting what? Delaying what? Being busy in what? So if a person is worried about his death, conscious about his death, then it will make him value every moment of his life. Recitation of these ayat. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.